Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World. And you can see this is beautiful Cincinnati. And guess what? We're talking to Ken Hanscom, who I'm very excited about. He's our Olympics expert. He owns the company. He's the COO at TicketManager, and he plans everything for the Olympics. I am so jealous. Welcome to our show today. I wish I could have been in Paris with you, but it was a little fast, right, Ken?
It was. Wow, my Paris is amazing. I've really been enjoying my time here, and what an amazing event we had last night with the opening ceremony.
I could not believe the rain. I could not believe the one thing that really stood out was the silver. It looked like a ghost, going across the water, and then a real horse came on. And it was, I've been to France 2 or 3 times. I love France, and it's, what can I tell you? It was just absolutely drop dead gorgeous. But I felt so sorry for everybody in the rain, but nothing.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's really interesting. If you look back at I know we were looking at the forecast days before, like, is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? The day of looks like it might rain, and we're kind of enjoying some pregame activities beforehand with some French food and some wine and things like that. We're like, hopefully it's not going to rain. We sit down, the ceremony starts, and then the rain starts. Fortunately, they gave a lot of us ponchos, so we were able to brave it out there in the elements. But to your point, is like the spectacle that was the opening ceremony. I think it was made for TV. It was, I think, one of the most visual, entertaining pieces I've seen in a number of years. And I've been to several opening and closing ceremonies myself, and it was just a really amazing time. Yes, we got wet. Yes, we got a little bit of drenched, but I think that's part of the experience overall.
That's right. And you know what? It's so, excuse me, it's so unbelievably gorgeous. Everything was just spot on. And to look down to the Eiffel Tower, the way they did that was so amazing. The graphics and everything they did are just unbelievable. And especially the way we thought, we didn't know until the very end where they were going to light it. And then the balloon.
No.
Oh my God. I have to ask you a question about this balloon. It
Yes.
is a hot air balloon. Is it staying up in the air? Is it sitting on the ground? What?
Yeah, so I just walked by it about an hour and a half ago on our way back from lunch. It's sitting in the gardens in front of the Louvre there, and it comes down in the morning and sits on the ground.
Okay.
And then so you can't get too close to it. They do have a little ticketed area, but it's really hard to get tickets to go to that. And then in the evenings, they're going to raise it up in the air, so you'll see it ascend and be up in the air, kind of like a beacon of light above Paris, right next to the Louvre for the duration of the Olympic Games.
Wow. There's nobody in it, though. There's nobody in the...
As much as I'd love to be in there, they did not invite me to come inside, unfortunately.
No, not here. I mean, inside the balloon. There's nobody inside the balloon, though.
Yeah, there's nobody inside the balloon.
No. So anyhow, let's talk a little bit about what's going on today. I already started I was up at 7 just to
Yes.
because I was just so excited about it. So tell me a little bit about what's going to happen today. And I think it's swimming, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big event I'm going to tonight. I think that's probably the biggest event on the calendar. And the reason is we have this great rivalry with Australia. And so tonight it's the Katie Ledecky in the pool. I'm not going to spoil for anyone what's obviously already happened this morning, but it should be a really good competition late tonight, and we kind of resume our battle with Australia for supremacy of the water, and for Katie for that event. So we're going to be cheering for her. A couple events today had to be postponed. I was supposed to go to skateboarding, street style skateboarding this afternoon, and they had to postpone that to Monday because it is raining still today. So there's
a lot of things that are outdoors. Okay.
Yes.
Totally outdoors. And
yes.
but the swimming is inside, right?
Yeah, swimming's totally completely inside. Beach volleyball is going on right now. They
I was
are
watching
outside.
that. I was watching
Yeah, they're
that.
outside playing in the rain.
Right.
And then you have handball. You have a lot of preliminaries going on. The excitement around the first 2 or 3 days of once opening ceremony hits is like amazing because you can't keep up with all of it. There's probably 30 events going at any given time. You got badminton, you got diving, you got handball, you got soccer, you got men and women's basketball. Like you have all this stuff going on, and so the excitement really builds these first few days where everyone's running from here to there to events. And I had some friends like myself that were had skateboarding today, and they're like, "Oh no, I got to find another event to go to because skateboarding's now Monday instead of today." So it makes for a lot of fun and a lot of energy.
Well, the one thing that I'm really watching is women's volleyball, and I saw the two volleyball gals last night.
Yes.
And because I told you that my granddaughter is a volleyball person, and so she
Yes.
must be watching this like crazy, right? So tell me, what do you think today? Now, these are just some preliminaries today, or they're starting to actually compete. They're competing today, correct?
Yeah, they're competing mainly in like what we call like more like group stages so that they can then make it into the elimination sorts of rounds. And so most of the medals for like volleyball, beach volleyball, basketball, soccer, they'll all happen the second week. But you do have some sports. There's already been several medals awarded today in diving. So you do have some that don't have that same sort of structure, but most of the like team sports, those are ones that will run basically 8 to 10 days, and sometime next week we'll get into the medals for those.
So actually, what is the last day for people that don't know of the Olympics? It started last night. It ends
Yes. And on Sunday, which is the 10th.
10th of August.
10th of August, that's right. It runs a little over 2 weeks.
So are you really excited about this year?
I am. I mean, the pool swimming is one of my favorite sports, so I'm super excited to see this battle back with Australia again. There's been some talking back and forth between the teams over the past few months, and one of the biggest talkers from the Australian team didn't even make their team, and so I think we're going into this meet with a lot of opportunity and energy. It probably will be one of our bigger medal totals for during the Olympics. I'm really excited about seeing our women's gymnastics team. I'm super. I'm going to my first men's gold medal basketball final. I sure hope that the Team USA is there. So there's just so much going on that's here to be excited for. We're really at the beginning. This is the height of kind of the energy and enthusiasm for the Olympics, and even this rain going on out here can't dampen them very much right now.
No, I noticed that it didn't dampen them at all, and I couldn't believe that the flame was still, working. So
Yes.
it was unreal to see that. And it was unreal to see them light it right under that balloon. I freaked out when I saw that. I thought that was the coolest thing that came about, but I thought it was just absolutely gorgeous. So who have you been talking to? I hear you've been talking to some past Olympic swimmers. Is that true?
Well, last night we ran into the Shibatanis, who are well-known ice dancers for Team USA. So that we had a great conversation with them. My wife and I have got to know them over the past few years since Beijing. And then we ran into Katie Hoff, who's one of our Olympians, 3-time gold medalist in swimming. And so it was just great. That's kind of the way it works when you're here on the ground. You happen to be in these places, whether it's the Team USA house, whether it has to be at some of these events, and you run into a lot of these Olympians. And I think one of the things that Team USA our Olympic Committee does really well is that for a lot of our Olympians, both currently competing and those who compete in foreign games, they get a lanyard that identifies them as Olympian at these events. So you can just walk up to them, introduce yourself, and most of them are just extremely friendly and enjoy having conversations. But it was fantastic to hear about what the Shibatanis are doing. Alex is doing some photography while he's here along with the IOC, so he's kind of gone that direction with his career. So it's really neat to be able to encounter them, and especially when you've met them a couple times and they get to know you. It's a lot of fun.
Right. Some of the Olympians didn't get there because of the train situation, yesterday. And so
Yes.
they've got there now. They're there now. Are they there?
As far as I know, everyone, I think it prevented some who were competing remotely from actually coming to opening ceremonies. So I think they just, ended up staying in the towns for, right. We have soccer games happening in like Marseille. The basketball team is up in Lille. So a lot of those athletes ended up not coming because they were just going to come specifically for the opening ceremony. And there was a disruption in rail service yesterday. Things are mostly back to normal. I had a meeting with a gentleman this morning who was trying to get back to London, and his 5 o'clock got pushed to 8 o'clock tonight on the Eurostar. But it seems like everything's getting pretty much back to normal for people who will be, traveling across France and in from other countries.
Now, let me ask you one question, because when I talked to
Yeah.
you, we've had you on our show before, and I've loved having you. And
Yes.
that's the reason why I'd love to have you all the time for Olympians. So my question is, can you still come to the Olympics? Is there any room?
There's a lot of room here at the Olympics. I think hotels are only 70% full right now, so there are a lot of good deals. If you tried to book a hotel and a flight a year ago, it probably would cost you 3 times as much as it does now. So depending on whatever your budget is, and if you're looking for 4 stars or 5 stars, I mean, some of these hotels are 20% of the price that they were a year ago. There's plenty of availability on airlines, and there's plenty of availability in hotels. And the main reason is this: why the Olympics brings about 350,000 people into Paris. There's usually 500,000 tourists every single day during summer. So there's a gap about 150,000 people, and so people who would normally come to Paris to visit and see all this say, hey, I don't want to deal with Olympic stuff, so I'm not going to come during that time frame. So it leaves us with a lot of excess capacity. So yeah, if you're still thinking about coming, hey, I want to come the second week and I want to see athletics, there's still plenty of time to do that at a very reasonable cost.
Now, each one is, you pay for each one that you go to.
Yeah, that's how it works. They call them sessions, and so a session is usually somewhere between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the event. And you buy just like you would buy a ticket for a baseball game. So it's for that single game that you buy that ticket for.
Wow. Have you seen people buy everything, buy the whole 9 yards? Is that?
I've seen people. I think the maximum amount of events you can probably get done in is probably 3 a day. I know a couple of people that have done 4. So if you kind of do that over 14 days, somewhere around 40 is the maximum number of events I think anyone could do. And I think you would be so exhausted at the end. I target about 25 events is what I try to do every time I'm at the Olympics.
So now, do you live in Paris all the time, or do you travel back to the States, or what?
No, so I just rent an apartment here for the month. So I'm usually based in Southern California, where the next Olympics, at least summer games, are going to be. And because I'm here for a month, I don't want to be in a hotel room. So it just ends up being a little bit small. So you want to be able to do your laundry and some of those things. So I usually rent an apartment for a month in whatever city I go to.
Well, I'd love to come to the Olympics in Los Angeles because my family lives in California, a lot of them, but I'd really like to try. I've never been. I always have wanted to come. But then I hear that you're going to be in Italy after that, which sounds like it's really exciting. Not that Los Angeles isn't exciting, let me say that, but this is pretty cool, actually. So,
yeah, the next Winter Games will be in Milan and Cortina, and they are going to, I think, be beautiful. So that's coming up in 2026.
So the one in Los Angeles is when?
It'll be 2028. So we'll go, this is the Summer Olympics for Paris in 2024. Then we'll go winter in Milan and Cortina, which is in Italy. And then we'll do Los Angeles in 2028.
So that's the way it goes. I had it mixed up. So now I'm glad you said that. So tell me what you're looking forward to seeing in the next day or two. Which ones will you attend?
Yeah, I go to swimming most every night. So pretty much my schedule the next 4 or 5 nights are all swimming finals as my favorite event. I'm looking forward to that. Tomorrow will be swimming. And then I'm going to go a bunch of the hospitality houses tomorrow. Chase Sapphire is doing a great one. I am going to have the opportunity to meet Michael Phelps in a couple of days, which is, when I look at my bucket list, meeting Michael Phelps in person was kind of my bucket list for this particular trip. And then on Monday, I have a pretty crowded day. I have 3 events because that skateboarding moved into Monday. So it's like a combination of fencing, skateboarding, and swimming. So I'm going to hit them all when it comes to Monday.
Well, I want to tell you, I'm so excited for you. I hope that we can do another one in the next couple of days. Maybe, when you have skateboarding. When is that? That's tomorrow? No, it's Monday?
That's Monday, and then I think Tuesday is going to be the women's gymnastics team final, which I'll be there. So that might be good to catch up after that, because I think that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites is gymnastics. So right after that, we
Yes.
have to talk because that's pretty exciting for me, especially I am so excited about gymnastics this year. And you still tell me a couple of people that'll still be with us this year competing.
Well, Simone Biles. Simone Biles, right? She is the one that everyone has the eyes on. In terms of looking at, she's apparently going to try have one or two additional moves potentially named for her. So she's going to try a couple of things that have never been done before. And so we're looking at her to help lead the team to hopefully the gold medal for the team, and then potentially be another all-around winner, and then possibly a couple of additional single medals for, individual apparatus, whether it's balance beam or floor, possibly even vault. I think that's who everyone is probably the most excited, but Jade is back. Several members of our team from Tokyo are back together. So it's going to be a really fun run for them.
I can't wait for it. Absolutely. I want to thank you so much for coming on this morning. And, I'm so excited that you're there and covering it. It's really exciting to me. So you want to give your website and where people can get a hold of you?
The easiest way to follow me is either on X at Ken Hanscom, KenHanscom, or the Ken Hanscom on Instagram. And I am posting just about everything I'm doing here. So you can kind of follow me and live vicariously through me if that's something you'd like to do.
We'd really like to do that. Thank you so very much for joining me. And I really appreciate you doing this with me from lovely Cincinnati, Ohio, so you could see the river and the rest of the stadium and everything. I thought that would be something for you. So
it's amazing. Thank you, Kathryn. Great to dial in from Paris.
And we're actually going to be posting this today. So anyhow,
fantastic.
Everywhere. Thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World, our syndicated TV show, and Let's Just Talk, our syndicated radio show. Today, our guest is Dr. Laurie Forlano. And, Americans haven't had to think much about diseases like measles, polio, or even chickenpox for decades. Vaccines introduced in the 20th century dramatically reduced the spread of these infectious diseases, in some cases to the point of elimination in some parts of the world. But today, many highly contagious vaccines-preventable diseases have started to reemerge in the U.S., especially in the regions where vaccinations rates are low in 2024. The CDC has reported more than 150 measles cases in over 20 states, including Virginia. State epidemiologist Dr. Laurie Forlano joins us today to share what these trends could mean for kids heading back to school. Welcome to our show, Dr. Forlano. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. All of a sudden, there's so many things happening within our country, and so many people are in our country today that we wouldn't have necessarily maybe had so many cases. But what is the status of vaccine preventable diseases in Virginia?
Mm-hmm. So we do monitor vaccine preventable diseases in Virginia, along with a lot of other reportable conditions, and we are observing some increases or trends that are, so essentially we're seeing levels of some of these diseases at the same level we saw before the pandemic. So we saw decreases during the pandemic for fairly obvious reasons because we weren't spending much time with each other at that time. And now we're starting to see that uptick. And in some parts of the country or some conditions, we're seeing levels even higher than before the pandemic. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is certainly if vaccine coverage isn't ideal. So it's those trends, upward trends for me and my team and communities. Really, it's a great reminder to check your vaccine status and make sure you have all your routine vaccines on board for both you and your children.
Let me ask you this question. A lot of schools, require vaccinations before you go back to school. Am I correct? Or if you're registered?
That's correct.
Okay. So
that is, yeah.
Why are Virginia public health officials concerned?
Mm-hmm. Right, great question. So you're correct that vaccines are required for school in Virginia, and those requirements rest at different points of a child's school career. So in kindergarten, 7th grade, 12th grade. And we're fortunate in Virginia that vaccine coverage rates, both for children and for adults, are pretty good in Virginia. For kids, we see high levels of vaccine coverage at the state level. There are some pockets of the state, however, that do not have such high vaccine coverage, and it's in those communities or those areas where I start to get concerned, because we have a population that is susceptible to the disease. So if it takes hold, it can spread very quickly, and we can start to observe, not only cases, but outbreaks and some pretty significant health consequences when these diseases are contracted. Like you mentioned, we're really lucky in the United States that we don't see much of these diseases anymore, and that is because of vaccines. So my concern goes to those populations or communities that are more vulnerable, because if these diseases take hold, it can be really disruptive and potentially devastating to a family or a community.
So, which childhood vaccinations are required for school entry in Virginia? For instance, measles, mumps, what?
There are a number of different vaccines that are required for school entry in Virginia. There is a list. Some examples include vaccines for polio, measles, mumps, and rubella, chickenpox, meningococcal disease, and it depends on the point of entry and the child's age, of course. So my advice is to get all that helpful details, to go to our website at vdh.virginia.gov/back-to-school. You'll see a list of the required vaccines, helpful paperwork or forms, and some other helpful information about other things for back to school, like sports physicals or checkups, health exams. So it's a great resource for parents and families.
How can parents get their children caught up on their vaccinations now? Because school's starting
Right.
pretty soon, right?
That's correct. I know it's hard to believe. We've got all this hot weather happening. It's hard to believe school's right around the corner, but it is. So calling early is a great thing to do. So call your healthcare provider, make that appointment, get it on this calendar, get it on the schedule. And then when you get that appointment, talk to your doctor, ask questions about these vaccines, make sure your children are up to date. And if they're missing a dose or need to get caught up, talk to your doctor about how to get that catch-up schedule so they are ready for school on day one in the fall.
Let me ask you, doctor, there are some vaccines that you have to take more than once. Am I correct? Or is that not true?
That's right. That's multiple doses. Yes, that's correct.
Doses. So if your child hasn't had multiple doses at a certain, and what certain, is there certain ages that they have to have those multiple vaccines?
I think the short answer is yes to both of those questions, but there is a lot of nuance and detail there. If a child, for example, is missing a school required vaccine, there's some policies or guidelines that say if they just need that first dose to get started, and then a plan to get the remainder of the schedule. Clinically, sometimes doses have to be spaced, say 6 weeks or 12 weeks or something like that, and you have to adhere to that clinical schedule, but we want to get at least that first dose on board for optimal protection when they start school. Most children in Virginia are up to date on these routine vaccines and have been visiting their doctors throughout their lifespan, and that's where you get these vaccines, when you visit your pediatrician or your family doctor. But if you do need to get caught up, calling your doctor, your local health department today, and getting that scheduled is a great first step for a healthy back to school.
Now, what should parents do if they have concerns or questions about vaccines? What can they
Sure.
find out about? Because there's a lot of parents, a lot of younger parents sometimes that don't want their children to have any kind of vaccines. How do you answer their concerns and why?
I think you're right that there's a lot of information out there in the world with the internet, et cetera. And some of that information isn't very reliable and isn't based in facts or science. And so getting your information from trusted, reliable sources like the VDH website, vdh.virginia.gov, the Centers for Disease Control, and having a one-on-one conversation with your doctor is a really impactful and powerful thing to do. Talk to that healthcare provider that you've chosen, that you trust, ask your questions, make sure you understand the vaccines and the timing and the schedule, and also understand the risks of not getting those vaccines.
Right.
Because some of these diseases can be really devastating. It's hard to remember that because of modern medicine and vaccines in the United States, but they can make one very sick, hospitalized, even worse. So get your information from trusted sources like your doctor, our public health website, and learn as much as you can. I definitely encourage people to ask those questions and make sure you feel comfortable.
And it's really important because a lot of times children are with their grandparents and they may have not had those diseases. And guess what? We don't want them, especially
Yeah.
certain like mumps or chicken pox or whatever. And, we were protected as young children, and I protected all my kids as well. So I think that's really important. And with RSV,
Yeah.
and also many things, especially if you have a brand new baby. That's what I think is important.
Yes. You bring up a great point that these vaccines protect not only your children, but your family and the other people that you love, your grandparents, your neighbors, the teachers, et cetera. And so it's a really, really great point.
I can't thank you for your mission. I really encourage people to do that. And it's so important. So thank you for joining us, and give me your website again, please.
I would be happy to. It's vdh.virginia.gov/back to school.
vdh.virginia. Then what?
.gov, G-O-V, like government,
Yep.
.gov/back to school.
Back to school. We'll send that out with all of the things that we
Great.
have today. And thank you so very much for joining me today. It's so important. Thank you. And don't forget to go to
I
our.
appreciate the time.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you.
Don't forget to go to our website at KathrynRaakersWorld.com or letsjusttalk.com. Thank you so much, Doctor.